and welcome back to the Brew Bowl, where it's now time for our semi-final summary. So let me go over to the PowerPoint and we'll see where it all looks. So we played our semi-final round. We only had two games, of course, being semi-finals. One was the Endervoller Kodiaks versus the Ascalon Gladiators, a match which the Kodiaks won 2-0. And the other was the Axolotl Quaddles against the Hyodoan Harbours, which the Harbours won 3-2 in a very deadly match that saw multiple deaths occur. So our final teams will then be the Kodiaks against the Harbours, and of course we will have a consolation final of the Quaddles and the Gladiators. Let's have a quick look at how the teams are looking. So the Gladiators, they picked up a new skill on the Blitzer that was bought for the match. So obviously Fohama was starting to work on a replacement for Fasira, given how expensive she would be to redraft. Picking up Dirty Player because unfortunately he rolled very poorly on the training roll, which meant that he didn't get full choice of a skill, had to roll for a random skill and got Dirty Player. But did actually pick up an extra lineman and managed to make a roll for her to come with a free skill, and very luckily she got blocked. So another blodge piece for Fohama going into the consolation final with a decent team still, with quite a strong team to go up against the Quaddles. Speaking of the Quaddles, yeah, really tough loss here for Pondo. First off, Not Tiny, one of the most expensive players in the league, who had picked up some really fantastic skills, was killed, and there was no apothecary on site to help with that. Also, Leaper Flatter also was killed in the match. So Pondo has restocked with an extra blocker and an extra lineman who haven't been given the Quaddles regular naming structure yet. But it does seem severely diminished going into his consolation final against the Gladiators. But he will get a huge amount, I think 330k worth of inducements. Right, the Endervoller Kodiaks, which is Dynamis' team, picked up Mighty Blow on their second Ulfwenar in their 2-0 win over the Gladiators. No other real changes here. Very strong team, doing very well. Dynamis has really sort of got his head around this team, so I think that he could do very well in the final, having taken out the main part of the championship. And of course, he'll be going up against the Hyodoan Harbours, which is Lawson's team. Lawson has decided to trim some fat out of his team by firing two of his linemen in order to get his team value down, give himself some inducement funds to play with against the Kodiaks, and probably take some very nasty mercenaries, knowing how Lawson does, or maybe some desperate measures, and just see what he can eke out. So, but you know, the Harbours have done very well, having started off this competition with only one positional, having grown out now to the full four, ready to go on to the grand final. Just looking at the player leaderboard, not a lot of change here because only two games were played. Aki the Judge did have 4 completions, but that didn't quite put her onto the board. I think she would need one more to equal Oswald Clippel, and then an extra one to knock him off and take the 5th place on the passing board, which could happen in the grand final. We'll have to wait and see. No change at all for touchdowns. All the number changes are down lower in the lead up. Hafthor did jump into 4th place on casualties, which has knocked the Cleaver, who is long since retired from the competition, off the bottom of the board. So Hafthor has now secured himself there for... We don't see a lot of changes at the top end of the casualty board, so he could stay there for quite some time. No change to MVPs. Not Tiny's death did drop him from the most expensive list. He was number 3, which allowed the Gravemaker and Fasira to move up. And that put Carnot, who is an equal 5th place with Dawn Michaels, onto the bottom of the most expensive table there as well. For our 2 remaining games, first off, the consolation final. The Quaddles have a tour play score of 8.2 versus the Gladiators score of 9.4. I just hope that both the players here have fun in this match. You know, they both had tough semi-finals. It's obviously disappointing to get knocked out of the chance at the victory. I just hope that, given that both teams have been banged up a lot from those finals, especially Pondo's, that they will just come in and have fun and not overthink this consolation final. You know, they've pretty much locked in the funds they have for season 4. So just yeah, have fun, have a enjoyable game, and then we'll go and see how the final goes. Speaking of the grand final, that will be the Kodiaks on a tour play score of 11 versus the Harbours on a tour play score of only 8.5. So big difference there in terms of those stats. will it translate on the table? I mean, I know that AP made a good suggestion that the two players that are competing for the grand final are the two players who have played the most Blood Bowl this year, given that Lawson and Namus have been regularly playing 11 Blood Bowl matches against each other using Fumble. And I think that they both learned a lot about how each other play. So, whereas I think I would probably favour the Kodiaks in this match. It could depend upon things like desperate measures that Lawson gets. If he gets something like a set piece, that can be, you know, pretty much give him a guaranteed touchdown, in which case you're working back from a deficit. That can be a psychological impact. Or, you know, sometimes Elven bullshit is a real thing, so we could see an upset there. Anyway, that is the summary. We're about to actually, today as I'm recording, play the Constellation Final, and then the Grand Final will be in a couple of days' time. So we are really close to the end of this series of the Brew Bowl. Hope you're still enjoying it. Stay tuned, because those matches are coming up this week, and then we'll have some more information about what we'll be doing next. We'll certainly be doing some exhibition matches between this season and the next season, which of course will be our final scene, but I'll explain those when we get closer. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next time here on YouTube.